In our part one of our series, Protected for a Purpose, we looked at the life of Aristarchus, a servant of God. And today, in our part two, we are going to look at Julius the Centurion, whose conduct and character is an encouragement to our dear brothers in uniform who have a noble calling. They stand as guardians of peace, protectors of communities, and defenders of order. Scripture reminds us of Julius the centurion who accompanied Paul to Rome. Though a Roman officer, Julius showed kindness, fairness, and courage. He protected Paul's life during the storm and allowed him liberty to receive care, provisions, and support from fellow believers. His example teaches us that even in positions of authority, faithfulness to God's mission matters. As soldiers and men in the security forces, you too can serve with integrity, compassion, and loyalty, becoming instrument of God's providence in safeguarding his servants and advancing his work. Julius the centurion mentioned in Acts chapter 27 and chapter 28 stands out as a Roman officer who showed unusual kindness and fairness to Paul. Though tasked with escorting prisoners to Rome, Julius treated Paul with respect, allowed him liberty, and even intervened to save his life during the shipwreck. His actions reveal how God can use individuals in positions of authority to protect his servants and advance his mission. Julius' role and background. Julius was a centurion of the Augustan court, as mentioned in Acts chapter 27, verses 1, a prestigious Roman military unit. Centurions typically commanded between 80 and 100 soldiers and were known for discipline, leadership, and loyalty to Rome. His assignment was to escort Paul and other prisoners from Caesarea in Palestine or the current Israel land to Rome. Unlike condemned criminals, Paul was awaiting trial before Caesar, which may explain Julius' more lenient treatment. Acts of kindness. At Sidon, as recorded in Acts 27:3, Julius allowed Paul to visit friends and receive care. This was unusual for prisoner and reflected Julius' trust in Paul's integrity. During the voyage, Julius permitted Paul's companions, Luke and Aristarchus, to accompany him, showing flexibility and favor. At the shipwreck, as recorded in Acts 27, verses 42 to 43, when soldiers planned to kill prisoners to prevent escape, Julius intervened to spare Paul's life. His authority ensured that all prisoners survived. Roman military law held guards strictly accountable for their captives. Under strict protocols, if a guard allowed a prisoner to escape, the guard faced the very same punishment or death sentence the prisoner was meant to receive. During the chaos of the shipwreck, keeping the chained prisoners contained was impossible, leading the soldiers to resort to execution as a cold, self-preserving measure. However, the commanding centurion in this case was Julius, intervened and stopped the executions to save Paul's life, fulfilling a divine promise that everyone on the ship will survive. Character and leadership. Julius demonstrated fairness, respect, and compassion, qualities not always expected from Roman officers. His decisions reveal a balance of military duty and humane consideration. By protecting Paul, Julius unknowingly participated in God's providential plan to bring the gospel to Rome. Significance of this was that Julius' kindness illustrates how God can use secular authorities to safeguard his servants, and his actions highlight the theme of God's sovereignty. Even in chains, Paul was under divine protection, and Julius became an instrument of that protection. This episode reminds believers that God's purposes are not hindered by human institutions. Rather, He can work through them. What are the lessons or our learnings for today? One, integrity earns respect. Paul's character likely influenced Julius' favorable treatment. Christians should live in ways that commend the gospel even to unbelievers. Number two, kindness matters. Julia's small acts of compassion had great impact. Believers are called to show kindness, even in positions of authority or responsibility. Number three, support God's servants. Just as Julius protected Paul, Christians should stand with ministers and missionaries, ensuring they fulfill their mission. Number four, trust God, trust God's providence. Julius' intervention was part of God's plan. We can trust that God will raise up people, even unexpected ones, to protect and sustain his work. In conclusion, Julius the Centurion is a minor figure in Acts, yet his role is significant. His kindness, fairness, and decisive leadership ensured Paul's survival and safe passage to Rome. More than a historical detail, Julius' action reminds us that God's protection often comes through human agents. For Christians today, his example calls us to live with integrity, extend kindness to others, and trust in God's sovereign care. May God bless you. Thank you.